Business M returns, therefore. So now you ask yourself the question, other than politics, we know it's a good story. Put that on the side. What headlines are you waking up to that affect the weight of the money in your pocket and the way your day as well progresses? We have the gentleman in the studio, Dr. Andrew Maubi. Welcome.
Thank you.
This is Metropol Television.
Thank you, sir.
That door is your home now. All right, anytime you want to say something, we open it up, as long as it's going to make Kenyans wake up on issues affecting matters, their money in the pocket.
Thank you.
Let's therefore get straight into it. I know the first issue that we have here is the Labour Court puts brake on housing levy. Here's the thing. It was a big issue, we do know, and we're going to talk about this on a deeper basis in the second part, but on just the eyes of the T-Bag. What do you feel about this headline? Let's not reveal all our feelings. What do you feel about this headline?
One, my feeling is that for the court to hold is just to clear the air.
Yes.
And to ensure that the issues that have been raised are handled first.
They're well handled
Yes.
first. Okay.
So the court is well within, what
Yes.
is acceptable. Yes.
This is the second and last question that I want to ask on this, because I want us to settle into it in the second part. There were demonstrations when it was first suggested it went to Parliament. Even with demonstrations and a lot of talk around it, it passed. It was put under the Finance Act, yes.
Yeah.
More demonstrations. Now there were even more demonstrations. Are Kenyans really protected by the same people who should make things clear and black and white for the Kenyan economy? Are they leaving us on the sidelines?
My view is that it may appear as a bad thing to happen to Kenyans.
Yes.
On the sidelines, but economically it makes sense. Like you're being encouraged, to save. That's a good thing, by all standards. However, there are a few issues that need to be addressed. For example, how long will it take, for example, somebody to, own a home worth 2 million shillings who earns 20,000? And when the government says that we are going to support low-cost housing, what is it that we mean by low-cost?
Low-cost housing.
Yes,
that is something.
I think that is part of the issue that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
However, economically, like I was saying earlier, it makes a lot of sense, because one thing that Kenyans need to understand is that there is going to be a refund after 15 years of contribution of the employee's contribution. There's going to be a refund. So it's only that probably, like you're looking at which way. It is not a tax per se, as Kenyans are saying.
Yes.
I think that is one point I disagree with other Kenyans. It's not a tax. It is a savings levy, so that it aids you to, save, but at the end of the day, you will get that refund. The only thing is that it leaves you with less amount to take home. But as it were, if you're able to access this, for example, if they were to construct houses like the ones in South Africa,
yes,
if the government was to, embark on such a project,
yes,
then probably a house that costs 600,000 would make more sense. And then the other issues that have not been addressed before, or that have not been addressed in this, are issues like, what do you look at when you say that you're going to come up with low-cost housing, or houses for that matter?
Yes.
What do you look at? There are various aspects that somebody needs to look at. Are they affordable to people? Like when you're going to subject people to a lottery, how many lotteries do people win?
How many lotteries do people win? I want us to leave it there.
Yes.
Sustain the emotion.
Yes.
We're going to be joined by another gentleman in the studio who comes from another way of thinking.
All right.
And then we set the things clear for Kenyans who are looking into this issue. With that note, let's move into the next headline that Kenyans are getting bombarded with this morning. This is something that has become periodic in this country. The Big Four agenda, one of the things that stand out clearly is food security.
Yes.
When we look at this country, food for us is unga. Make it fine, everything is fine. So for a government that promises Kenyans food security in its Big Four agenda, this is what we promise you. This is what we're fighting for. All our policies are headed here.
Okay.
Why is it that time and time again do we have these sort of headlines?
In my own view, honestly, we are looking at a situation where Kenyans or Kenya as a government, we are not prepared for eventualities. For example, drought. You're looking at, how long the dry season is going to last. Mm-hmm. And this affects production. If production is affected, it means supply of maize, is going to be curtailed. What that means, therefore, is that if supply of maize is in small quantities as against the expectations,
yes,
then the prices are going to, economically, it makes sense to push the prices up, because if supply is, low, then the price is going to be pushed up.
Yes.
And so the millers and the competition authority may not be there to blame, but they are cushioning themselves against the production cost, against the supply cost. For example, the bag of maize has shifted from 2,000 to 3,200 now. Where does that leave the millers and the suppliers of this product?
Yes.
So as a government, there are projects that have failed before, like the Galana Kulalu project, which would have put a lot of maize to our baskets. So this project has failed. It has not produced as it was being propagated earlier. So those are some of the things that need to be worked on for us to sustain food security in this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
Kenyans are watching. The government comes and says we have 21 million bags
Yes.
in the stock. Sort of put this on hold.
Yeah.
The millers come and say, no, you're lying. We don't see them because why are we not getting them? Then give us that.
Yeah.
Now, we do know that the government also owes millers in excess of 2.3 billion shillings.
Yeah.
Just the other day, they wanted to settle this debt by giving them 2.7 million bags.
Yeah.
Okay, receive this, forget the debt. So the question that Mwananchi asked is why, if the government has 21 million bags of maize, why can't they give this to the millers, all right? And is it time, therefore, for the government to intervene like we've seen them do before when there is government-supplied flour in the economy?
Yeah.
Why is it time for them to do that right now?
My view is really simple. We are trying to deal with corruption in this country. Sometimes people can even decide to bring in, mechanical kind of shortage. Because if we say that we have 21 million bags, then at the end of the day, these ones are not released to the market so that they help reduce the prices, then somebody somewhere is playing some game. So that at the end of the day, they're allowed to, import and make money when Kenyans are suffering. These are some of the things that this government needs to look at so that we do not endanger the lives of Kenyans.
Yes. Kenyans cry from time to time that the government doesn't support them when it comes to the cost of living in this country. Just the same headline as well. The Competition Authority of Kenya recognizes this. And they have to traverse the market before they allow the millers to readjust their prices. But this is the warning, therefore. And I want us to poke holes into this. The Competition Authority of Kenya come in and said, good, you can adjust the prices, but do that independently. Do not consult.
Good.
But when I look at this headline, the millers, how are you going to know that I have not consulted Dr. Andrew on how much we should sell? Are they also sort of giving them, the millers, a ground to sort of push the prices of these commodities higher and higher? Because we do know it's now 10% more than it was last week.
Unfortunately, the state of the Kenyan economy and the laws that we have, you cannot do much. You cannot fix prices for the millers.
Yes.
So what the Competition Authority says, they have done their surveys, and the information within their reach says that they've not consulted. But I do not know to what extent they have put in policies to ensure that these consultations do not take place. So that is what needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's so easy for the stores and the supermarkets to collude and charge prices exorbitantly against the expectations of Kenyans.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what next for Kenyans? What should we expect?
Of course, we need to brace ourselves and tighten our belts. So long as the government does not come in and used the mechanisms that are within their reach to ensure that these prices are pushed down, then Kenyans have got no choice.
We're still in more pain.
Yes.
All right, with that tempo,
unfortunately,
let's cross over to the next headline that we're waking up to this morning. Jiraini, the main taxman, goes home after 7 years. Main headline is, when you look at this man's tenure, let's look at the Kenya Revenue Authority. We keep on hitting shortfalls year after year. Kenya has not realized its tax collection deficit. What score do you give him? 7 years is a long time. What score do you give him?
I think for me, he's done 80%.
80%. And
Yes.
why do you give him 80%?
I know probably...
Just hold on.
Yes.
Just the other year,
Yes.
we have reports that the last financial year, that's 2018, that's 2017, 2018,
Yes.
we had a 180 billion shortfall.
Shortfall.
Don't you think that is below average for this country?
For me, yes, that is below average. However, he cannot work in isolation. And, there's no boss who can work in isolation. He can work, he must always work with his staff.
Yes.
But let me tell you, and we all know, this information that is in public domain.
Yes.
You cannot rule out corruption. You cannot rule out corruption at
Yes.
all quarters.
Uh-huh.
But you see, the mechanisms that, have come into place under his watch are really enormous.
Yes.
For example, the iTax system. The iTax system is really something that has really led this country far. Mm-hmm. And without the iTax system, this country would have continued to lose revenues. Mm-hmm. So for me, that is the big credit for, for Njiraini, mm-hmm. honestly.
Yes.
So I do not think that he has underperformed as probably is the view of many Kenyans or
Yes.
some Kenyans.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he has done a perfect job. And the only thing that we can do for him now is to let him go and, relax in peace. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Get fresh blood?
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about that fresh blood, therefore.
Yes.
What awaits this guy? This lady, what we want to see happen from KRA?
Of course, ensure that they start tightening the noose and
Yes.
ensuring that, the corruption mechanisms, rather the channels are, squeezed a bit.
Yes.
You may not eradicate corruption completely at any government agency or even private entities. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, work hard towards reducing the mechanisms or the avenues through which we lose money.
Yes.
So that is what really these people need to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tax collection is a governmental issue. Yeah. We cannot actually just put it on KRA by itself because we do know that it's a collective effort. Therefore, what is this thing in the Kenyan economy that needs to shift or change for us to start realizing positivity towards tax collection and tax payments in this country?
For me, that's debatable.
It is debatable.
In the sense that, there are many things. Various people, propose various measures that the government can use to, to get more revenues. Mm-hmm. For example, some people have proposed before change of guard, which is now happening,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
And we really hope that, the person who's going to take over from Njiraini is going to really realize what Kenyans expect. Mm-hmm. Then too, like I said before, ensure that corruption is eradicated. Actually, most of our problems come up because of corruption. And if that is really, dealt with completely, we are going to obtain revenues that soar up there. Uh-huh. And then make Kenyans self-sustainable.
All right. Yes. With that one, let's cross over therefore to the next one this morning again. JKIA shut down shortly after a bomb scare. This is something that happened in Kisumu yesterday. Yeah. All right. We had tons and tons of delays at the airport. We had a bomb scare at JKIA. But just imagine, we're crossing over to Easter holidays. We do know that the airports are overbooked. But then, once you realize exactly what happens in this country, because it's an integral headline, why, even if it's just a scare, it comes in the backdrop of Kenya being listed as a kidnap hotspot in this country. It comes in the backdrop of where we have now a new CAS in the Ministry of Tourism, sort of trying to boost our domestic and international tourism. So when you look at this headline, are we sort of prepared to sort of sanitize this sector of tourism in this country and also crisis management, especially over things like this? I have not read anywhere that the government has boosted security in the cities as the Easter holidays approach. But internationally, those are the sort of headlines that are getting into our faces.
One, I must say it's unfortunate. Insecurity has, far-reaching implications. Mm-hmm. even to the economy.
Yes.
Because when insecurity is high, it means we do not obtain the investments that we need from, people, anybody who wants to invest in the country, whether from, our diaspora brothers and sisters, or even ourselves. You cannot continue to invest in a country where you have insecurity.
Yes.
So one, what we should ask ourselves, the key question is, have we attained the UN recommended, for example, police to citizen ratio?
Yes.
Of 1 to 450. Like, one police officer is meant to cater for 450 Kenyans.
Yes.
I know there's last year but one. The president really indicated that we have achieved 1 to 390. But this has been, some people have carried out their research.
Yes.
And they've disapproved this. And I do not, I keep wondering, the president handlers, who's this that gives the president the wrong information? And the true picture is that as at that time, we had 1 to 800. Because if we had enough police to citizen ratio, as recommended by even the UN levels, then we could be secure. And then the preparedness. I talked about preparedness when we were starting this show. I indicated that Kenya, we always are caught unaware. Why would we have bomb scares? How many, for example, the roadblocks that we have on the road and things like those, for us to get to that level where, for example, somebody comes and attacks us, where do we are sending the wrong signals. We are portraying ourselves as if we are weak. Kenyans are not weak.
Yes.
We are a democratic nation, and our security has got to be above board.
Yes.
And that is what we need to achieve.
All right.
Yes.
So the government should be ready for the Easter holidays. We should be assured that everything is okay as we get into the Easter economy.
Yes.
Because we do know what happens around
activity.
that area.
Yes.
All right, let's therefore cross over to the next one. This morning, domestic air prices, still the same thing. Jump as Kenyans take Easter break. They are overbooked. I was trying to book yesterday, and then I was told I have to wait for another week to get to Kisumu. That sort of made me think, or made us think, we do have a national airline that is struggling to make profits in this KQ.
Yeah.
And so you look at it like, how do we sort of sustain this sort of craze? That's the only question that comes, because we can lift it if they are able to get more domestic flights. How are we therefore are we going to make them or push them to sustain this craze for air travels in the country throughout the year? Is it possible? Can they chart that way? Because we do know they've opened an international route all the way to New York. More are coming, we do know that. If they sustain the domestic craze like they have done during the Easter now, because we know they released the Boeing just to sustain this, can they start charting profits as opposed to losses?
For me, it's it's twofold. One, to really the cost of maintaining the flights continuously is really quite high, I must say.
Yes.
But the economies of it is that when demand goes up, of course, obviously, then the price would be pushed up.
Yes.
And even availability would be a challenge. And most Kenyans do not really bother using flights.
That's the thing that we're talking about. That's the thing that we're talking about.
Because they perceive that the cost of airfare is quite high.
Yes.
And sometimes you even border, you are bored and you fly literally with several empty seats.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, are these airlines gonna make money?
Yes.
So that is to be able to address that, we need to continuously look at ways of cutting down on the cost of operations. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's look at the marketing aspect. Have these airlines sort of shut their eyes on the local market and sort of focused on, we do know that the smaller ones that are duly focused on the local, but let's talk about the big one that is a KQ. Have they closed their eyes on marketing themselves locally and now they've gone international?
I think for me, my opinion is that I think Africans generally and Kenyans by extension,
yes,
we have a problem of our customer satisfaction,
yes,
and customer service. And actually for those of us who've traveled this world, you are able to know that customer service is everything.
Yes.
And even if you do your marketing and your customer service is one thing. Like I've had people talk about, their flight experiences abroad.
Yes.
And they say, when you look at the service that is offered even on board, for example, Kenya Airways, we need to check on it.
Yes.
When you look at other flights, it's much better. And so somebody, opts to take the services of even the Ethiopian Airlines, just because our Kenyan airline, the KQ, the customer service sometimes is really below board.
Is below board?
Yes.
Okay, let's not focus there really, therefore. I just want us to come, we Kenyans know.
Yeah.
Good thing is if you board a plane, that's a good picture for social media.
Yeah.
So that tells you though, there is this culture that these airlines have not stamped out of the minds of Kenyans that taking a plane is not a privilege, it's not an expense, it's a convenience.
True.
So they don't you think they've sort of marketed like that and therefore attract more, which is sort of going to reduce the costs, then we can start talking about successful airline business in the country.
So the only way out is just to ensure that probably we change perception. And the way to change perception is really coming in here, even within our borders.
Yes.
And advertise our services and ensure that we market properly. And of course, promise Kenyans that our customer service is going to be above board.
It's going to be above
board. And then
board.
that way, we are going to increase even the rate at which people fly within.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. On that note, let's see whether we have more headlines this morning. I think we do.
Yeah.
I don't want to say much about this. NEMA has been integral in terms of environmental policies that affect businesses in this country. Yes. I don't want to name the companies. We do know that 2 have been shut down. That sort of takes us back to the first question. Have NEMA sort of cleared or performed their mandate fully in Kenya?
Unfortunately, yes and no.
Let's start with a yes.
Yes, because it's not like they've done nothing. You look at even the plastic bags ban, they've done really a great job. But like I say, everything that is a mess in this country zeroes back to corruption.
Yes.
Because sometimes, how the hell do you find, plastic bags in this country? Because they are there.
They are there.
You go to these markets, you go to wherever market, and you find these bags.
They are there. Was it just last week when some very funny Kenyan tweeted NEMA during the April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
Most Kenyans read into the joke. He said, hello, hello NEMA. They responded and said, hello, can I tell you a joke?
Yes.
There are no plastic bags on the Kenyan streets.
And that is called a joke.
They didn't respond to that. They didn't respond to that, but that's deep, isn't it? Yes. So what does that sort of say about NEMA in its performance in the Kenyan economy? Should they sort of go back to the drawing board and bite a chunk after another?
For me, the policies are good. And, Kenya, all state corporations and, organizations in this country have the best policies. But implementation from management is the problem. And management fails to have proper implementation because of corruption. Corruption is the elephant in the room.
Yes.
And if we are able to really deal with corruption, and we need to start from the top, we need to really fight corruption with vigor.
Yes.
And interest. Sometimes we can fight it with vigor, but there is no interest. And how you view that there's, how you find out that there's no interest is when, for example, people keep on fighting the agencies that are fighting corruption or dealing with the corruption issues. That is how you find out that corruption is not really actually being dealt with. So if that is addressed, then even NEMA itself, these issues of, finding, like the plastic bags that have been banned, then you will find them, coming to an end at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when somebody was saying the other day that even me and you do know that the demolition of buildings, there was a long list that was put in public domain, all right, by the involved agencies, NEMA included.
Yeah.
We saw some of the demolitions, a lot of public outcry, and a lot of cries from the developers. The real estate sector took a hold at that time, knowing that NEMA was coming for them. Now, since it was put on a stop to sort of mitigate better ways for NEMA to sort of continue protecting the Kenyan business environment, we've not been told when they're supposed to begin or continue again, isn't it? And so when you look at NEMA and their policies, are they sort of jumping from one place to another? It's a question that I was asked to put in your domain this morning is, should they start with the plastic bags, make sure we are at zero, okay? Then after that, say now next, we are coming for the buildings. Make sure we are clean. Next after that, let's talk about rivers now. And then make sure that we are clean, as opposed to being an agency that is sort of trying to forcefully get into a much, I would say a pigsty of injustice to the environment.
I think two things there. One, I'll unfortunately go back to how corruption is dealt with. Then two, I would also look at a situation where, you know, PR, Kenyans know how to play PR.
Yes.
From our leaders. You know, like that was a stunt that was being pulled to show that people are dealing with, how people, take up things and go against probably the NEMA rules.
Yes.
So we are saying that how do the approvals, for example, get to the people's hands?
Yes.
How do we get approvals? It is through kickbacks. People say, you know that some aspects of a given building are not, acceptable. But because you've given up kickbacks, you're going to erect a building that is going to fall the following day. And then now, the same NEMA comes and starts pulling them down, pulls a few stunts as a PR, thing. But at the end of the day, I want to bet here that these demolitions will not continue anytime soon.
They will not continue anytime soon.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Much as you and I know that there are many buildings that you need to put down.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
but,
the list was quite long.
Yes.
Yes.
They're not going to be, they're not going to get back to it anytime soon. I can tell you that.
So it's a fallback from what they didn't achieve.
Yeah.
All right, let's see whether we have the next headline. No, this is not for business this morning.
Okay.
Here's the thing. We put a stop on the Metropol review this morning. But the major issue in this country, the 1.5 levy for affordable housing question. Let's define every single aspect in that headline. Let's talk about the 1.5. Let's talk about the affordable. Let's talk about housing. Let's define levy. Let's talk about everything in black and white terms after this short break.